What is up, guys? My name's Loverfella, and today we're going to talk about Symmetra and why she's one of the best supports in all of Overwatch. So to start off, let's go ahead and talk about some of her weapons. First up is her basic attack, the Photon Projector, and she has two different forms. She can either use like a giant ball she shoots out, or a tether that automatically connects to anyone that's in her range that she can see, a max of one person. This tether does increasing damage every single second they're in range, starts at 30, goes to 60, and then 120, and then the photon ball does more damage the longer you charge it. So with both of her moves, the longer you're holding it or shooting it or whatever, the more damage it's going to do. But they're not easy to hit because the tether has a super short range and the ball you shoot out moves incredibly slowly. So with that one, you almost have to get lucky, catch them by surprise, or have someone who has no idea what it does just walk right into it. These moves are pretty basic though. There's not much to it. The ball's better for the ball you shoot is better for targets like Reinhardt and Roadhog because it just goes right at them. They're super big targets and it's hard for them to dodge, and it just does massive damage. And then the tether's super good for targets like Tracer. She runs around all the time. She's super quick, hard to hit with almost everyone in the game. If you have a tether, she can't dodge the tether. As long as she's in your line of sight, you will hit her and you will do a ton of damage. It's just such a good weapon, such a good weapon. Just make sure you stay out of their range, the other opponent's ranges, because you don't have much health and you'll go down quicker than they do. Up next, we're going to talk about the Sentry Turret, and this is what, in my opinion, makes her such a good support. You can place up to 6 Sentry Turrets at a time on the map, while only storing 3 at a time on your person. You can place them anywhere you want, behind plants, on walls, ceiling, floor, almost anywhere on the map you can put a turret. The turrets are so good because you can bait people to make them come to your teleporter, you can use them to defend objectives, you can use them to be offensive, you can just put them randomly and just happen to get a few kills throughout the game, and they're amazing. And the feeling you get when you kill someone with just your turrets, like you're walking and then just as you get a kill, it's just, it's so good, so good. And this is why I love her. But they're super fragile. They only have 1 HP, so if splash damage is going to take them out instantly. So like a Pharaoh or something is a really good counter for Symmetra, and you do not want to have to deal with that. So make sure you're placing them in strategic places so they won't all blow up at once, so that they're very difficult to see, and so that they're going to do the max amount of damage when they walk into a room. You can either put them all together in one room, make a death trap, you can spread them out. It's really dependent upon what your game's going to require, who you're playing against, and how you want to play her. A single turret is not really going to stop people from walking through an area, however. If they see one turret, they're just going to say, whatever, I'll shoot it once and it's gone. I would recommend having 2 to 3 in an area to stop them or slow them down. The more you have, the more slow they put onto the enemies, so they're very good for that. Now they will lock on to the first person they see within their range, so if there's multiple people, they're just going to target the first one in their range and they won't switch back and forth. The best tip for using turrets is to make sure you put them in very, very difficult to find places. Think about it and find good places. And once you get your good places, don't tell anyone. Put them in bushes, underneath overhangs. You want to make it really confusing for the enemies. You don't want them to see it, and by the time they find it, you want them to have already died. And then once they know it's there, switch it up. Put it in a new spot. All game, you want to move it everywhere. Keep them always guessing. Is this building safe? I don't know. Maybe Symmetra. Put turrets all over it. That's how you got to play her. Up next is the Photon Shield. You press E on your ally, you shield him, and it's a great shield. Gives him 25 shield, and shields regenerate, so if you go 3 seconds without taking damage, it's going to restore back to its max. It's extremely good, but it's more effective on characters with low base health, like a Tracer, for example, would be a difference of 17% more health, while on Roadhog, that'd be a difference of 4% health. So really on people that are low health, it's going to make a bigger difference for them. On Roadhog, giant tanks, it's really not a huge deal. Make sure you use it. If you don't use this move, you should not be playing her. It's such an important move, and it makes the difference. 25 shield doesn't seem like a lot, but 25 split through your whole team, that's like 100 extra health they have to take out every single team fight. Make sure you use your shield. And then finally, the teleporter. This is, in my opinion, the most game-changing move in the entire game of Overwatch. You can just place this teleporter next to a battlefield, and you can use it to bait people to come in and shoot them with your turrets, but you can stop losing games by just dying and then letting them push because you can't get back to the site. You can put it in somewhere secret where they can't find it. Your team's going to be able to die, come right back to the battlefield, and then even though they just aced your team and killed them all, it doesn't matter because they're all back in the action. You just have to be careful. It's high risk, high reward. If the enemy team spots it, they can spawn camp and get a bunch of easy kills, then destroy the turret, lets them push even farther, so make sure it's somewhere no one will find it. Even if that means putting it back a few extra steps, that's fine, do what you gotta do. And then make sure you do not put it by a cliff, alright? You only make this mistake once, but you put it by a cliff, and then your entire team's going to walk through, and they're just going to jump right off the edge and die. And it's hilarious, honestly. You should try it at least once, but then stop. Don't do it again after that. So when using Symmetra, it's important to know that she's not a brute force character. You can't just run in there like Reinhardt and just go hard and just kill everyone, start swinging, and then get out with no damage. You have to be smart. So this character takes intelligence on the person using it. You have to think very clever, you have to be sly, you have to put your turrets in very hard to reach places, and you have to be able to adapt. I think she's one of the most difficult characters to play perfectly in the game. Because you can't put the turrets in the same spot all game. You can't put the turrets in the same spot any game. You always have to switch it up. You never know which move you need to use, whether it's the photon ball or the tether that you connect to them. You have to place your teleporter properly, and it's a very conservative playstyle. You got to stay back. You got to think through every single move, and if you do, you will be rewarded very handsomely. It's incredible once you have a good Symmetra on your team. Just beautiful. And of course, there are a couple advanced tips, like if you're playing Pharah, just put your turrets on the ceiling somewhere that she won't be able to blow up on accident by just randomly shooting like they always do. If you're placing if you're playing against a fragile target like a Tracer or Genji, charge up the photon projector, the giant ball, lure them around the corner and blast them in the face and punch them or something, and they'll probably die instantly. It's a pretty easy kill. Squishy targets you can take out, but remember they can take you out too because you're pretty squishy. The best counters to Symmetra are Tracer, Winston, Junkrat, and Pharah. These four are awful for her. So Tracer is a good counter because she's super quick, which means she can dodge the photon projector, and she can blink through your Sentry Turret hideouts and just find you, destroy your teleporter, and then get out. So Tracer is annoying, but you can deal with her. I mean, you can shoot her with your laser beam, take her down that way. Winston sucks because his Tesla cannon just basically seeks out your turrets and ruins it, and he ruins it. He ruins everything about Symmetra. If you're playing a Winston, either rethink it. If you're playing a Winston, either you gotta rethink it or you gotta be really good with her because he's difficult. Junkrat also is extremely annoying because you have so many area of effect abilities. His ultimate, his bombs, he just randomly sprays and one shot, and then you lose all of your turrets you just spent the last 2 minutes setting up, which is just super annoying. And then Pharah, we've mentioned her a few times. She just has so many explosive moves. She's gonna destroy your nest without any risk. So if you're playing these guys, be careful. So now you guys have a pretty basic understanding of how to play Symmetra with a few advanced tips thrown in, and now I think the best way to understand how to play a character is to understand their backstory. So I'm going to give you guys Symmetra's backstory. If you're not interested in this, you can go ahead and leave the video now. There's no more tips following this, but I think it's interesting to understand your character and really connect with it. So Symmetra literally bends reality. By manipulating hard light constructs, she crafts the world as she wishes it to be, in hopes of engineering a perfect society. She dislikes killing people and has demonstrated events of OCD and possible autism. Symmetra believes her actions serve the greater good in society, but there are times when she wonders whether the control and order she desires are truly for humanity. So Symmetra is basically an OCD autistic girl who places turrets, so that's weird. Styla Vasawi grew up in Hyderabad, India. By her recollection, it was not a pleasant environment to grow up in. Following the Omnic Crisis, the Vikshar Corporation of southern India began the laborious process of creating a new self-sustaining city to house the nation's displaced population. One such city, Utopia, was created using radical hard light technology that enabled its architects to shape the city's streets, utilities, and living spaces in the blink of an eye. After she was identified as one of the few capable of becoming a light-bending architect, Satya was plucked from the extreme poverty and placed in care of Vikshar's Architect Academy, never to return home. Isolated and lonely in her new life, Satya immersed herself in education and training. She quickly grasped the applications of technology and was one of the top students in her class. Satya approached hard light manipulation differently than her peers, with her more procedural mechanical constructions, instead weaving her constructs in the motions of the traditional dance of her homeland. Though she was Utopia's top architects, the Vikshar Corporation saw far greater potential in Satya's abilities, giving her the monkier Symmetra. Vikshar sent her clandestine missions around the world to uphold corporate interests and expand its influence into other countries. Symmetra was present in Rio de Janeiro as Vikshar tried to secure a deal with the mayor to redevelop the city's slums with its hard light technology. However, the mayor favored a deal with Colado, a prospect to which Symmetra was left aghast. She stormed out of the mayor's office, coming across a crowd of protesters who were against the redevelopment of the neighborhoods. She couldn't understand their mindset as to how they could bear to live in such disgusting conditions. As she wondered, she found herself lost. She was helped back to her hotel by a young girl. Reminded of her childhood, Symmetra swore that Vishkar would help Rio's people, regardless of what it took. It didn't take long for that to happen, as Sanjay Kopal assigned her to infiltrate the Caldado building, get some dirt on the Caldado, and get out. She found some dirt, but nothing that would be enough to take Caldado down. Some guards attacked her, but she was able to incapacitate them and exit via her teleporter. Outside, she contacted Sanjay, confirming that she had nothing on Caldado, and that maybe finding dirt on the mayor was a better option. Sanjay responded with "so be it," and a second later, the Caldado building was consumed in a fiery explosion. Now, Sanjay explained, Caldado wouldn't stand in the way and they would help Rio's people. However, as the building collapsed, debris fell into the adjacent slum that Symmetra had passed through. Making her way through the dirt and the debris, she found that the girl that she had helped earlier, along with her grieving mother. Her face had been severely burnt, but Symmetra could only hope that Vishkar could fix it. A few months later, the situation had indeed been fixed, as Vishkar had carried out its redevelopment of Rio's city center. Now that Caldado had been taken out, standing with Sanjay and the mayor giving a speech, Symmetra observed that new housing had yet to be provided. Sanjay affirmed that the housing would be provided in time, and avoided answering when Symmetra asked him whether the Caldado fire had been caused by Vishkar. This, he told her, was the price of rebirth. Looking out over the crowd, Symmetra could only reaffirm that Vishkar was indeed making a better world. So yeah, basically the guy who made her suggested that she had ulterior motivations and that she's not an evil character in the same vein as like Reaper or Widowmaker, but her actions could lead individuals within the setting to see her as a villain. So her backstory was expanded when Lucio came out, which is pretty cool, and it's very interesting how they all relate once you start reading them all. It's really cool. You can find a magazine image of Symmetra inside Route 66. The image was later removed in a patch, but it was on that map. Some of Symmetra's traits, many of which are presented in a better world, such as socializing, dislikes of crowds, and an obsession with structured environments, and the inability to emphasize, are traits commonly associated with autism. The theory is further supported by the mention where Symmetra fits in the spectrum, which might allude to autism spectrum. So I hope you guys liked this tutorial video. I've never tried to make a video like this, but I went over all the basics and advanced tips as well as the backstory. If you're interested in more videos like this, I will gladly make them. Just leave a like or a comment and let me know down below, and I'll try to get one up maybe once a week or more often if you guys really want it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.